Welcome back, everyone, to the Unclassified Podcast. I'm Ben Wheeler. I'm joined here today with Preston Stewart, and we're going to talk about all kinds of things. We're talking about Syria. They've been ruthlessly attacked. At least that's my version of it. We'll see what the true facts are here pretty soon. Also, we're going to talk about how Ukraine got weapons. We have some questions from you, the viewers. But, Preston, the start, do you want to talk about the hottest news story in America right now? This news story that just won't go away. What is going on with Jeffrey Epstein and the President of the United States?
I lean on you for this stuff, Ben. You know that. I tried to keep up a little bit last night. I know a lot of people get like text alerts for news stories. I have Ben alerts. Anytime something breaks, I look down, and Ben has sent me the link to a tweet, which I don't know why you don't just DM me the post on Twitter. I feel like that's something we should address.
No.
But he texts me links to tweets that I then have to, that kind of gives me an update as to what's happening. So, I was following last night a crazy Epstein story in the Wall Street Journal, and it's as wild as all the other stuff, I guess, right?
I didn't know that you were I didn't know you disliked the concept of being texted tweets. You just want them DM'd?
It feels weird. It feels like printing out an email.
What?
I don't know. I mean, Megan does the same thing. She texts me TikToks.
Yeah, I do. I
know.
text people TikToks.
I'm also
too.
really bad about responding to DMs, so I guess I kind of brought this on myself.
Yeah, I don't check my DMs on Twitter either. That's why I send them in text. So, should I DM them now, or are we still texting?
I just want you to overthink it next time you send one.
Yeah, now I think I'm just going to block her number. I think we'll talk every Friday at the same time.
Yeah, but Epstein, Trump's an artist drawing pictures, lewd pictures or something. I don't know. I can't.
With the weirdest birthday card anyone's ever heard before in their life. That whole thing was weird. He ends it with, "May every day be another wonderful secret." That feels like a normal thing to write to your buddy who's running a pedophile ring, doesn't it?
That is a creepy thing to write to anyone at any point ever, no matter the situation.
I'm so bizarre. And the craziest part about the Epstein story is that this all could have gone away. Even like in the way it was, if they had just not said anything. But ever since they closed the case, said there's nothing there, after he said he'd release them, and now he's telling everyone what he said MAGA's people they're stupid and weaklings. He doesn't want their support anymore if they continue to believe Epstein's hiding something here, which is an interesting strategy that does not seem to be working out for him. But to each their own, right? And I don't know. He's acting like the most guilty man on the face of the planet. Like I said last week, I have not really been a big believer in the whole Epstein thing. Like, I know what the conspiracy is. I don't know how true it is. But now I'm like, maybe there is something going on there.
It seems it's so interesting because Trump has a lot of political talent that we've seen in play for years and years now, 10 years at this point. And he's been so good at manipulating things in his favor. And I don't mean that in a negative connotation, just like finding the way to move things in the direction that best suits him and his agenda and the people around him. And it's been arguably some of the most impressive politicking around the world in that time period. A lot of it has to do with messaging, and this messaging he botched from the beginning. I don't understand why they didn't just sit on this thing and say, yeah, we'll get to it. You know how many things there are just with Trump alone, let alone all politicians, where it's like, how about Trump's tax returns, right? Like, aren't we still waiting on those from a decade ago, right? Mm-hmm. But we just kind of move on, and you just stop talking about it, and people forget. But that was the biggest thing, and you just kind of tread water for a bit, and something else comes up. They did the opposite of this. It's interesting to see, but
I mean, there's a reason he's called Teflon Don. They can't get anything to stick, but now this is, I guess, age has worn off the Teflon.
Do you think there's a chance that we see a distraction in the true American sense of airstrikes against one of our adversaries? Stop focusing on Epstein. We're at war with Iran. Something like that?
No, I think he's more likely to fire Jerome Powell to do it.
Oh, just burn it all down.
Because Trump wants a description, but he wants a distraction. But he's very like hesitant on war and really always has been. And we'll get into that here today. But I mean, what do you think? Do you think we're going to bomb another nation to get out of this Epstein crisis?
Maybe.
What if he bombs Epstein's island and he's like, "Is everyone pleased now?"
Yeah, turns it into a nuclear test ground. National security purposes. It, had nothing to do with the ongoing case.
Absolutely.
No, I think there's a reasonable chance, and there has been a reasonable chance for a while, that we go back after Iran. There was just an NBC article yesterday that said we only really significantly damaged one of the 3 facilities, which I think was kind of known. The others were above ground, and one of them we didn't even go after, the underground facilities. But that's in the news. The DOD is saying it's fake news and it's made up, but that's been an open question of we don't really know the damage there, so that's always been on the table. And we have some sort of deadline with Russia. I know we're going to get into that later in the show, but maybe it's not military strikes per se, but I think there is the door is open to increase something there pretty significantly. Absolutely. I don't think that's actually going to happen. I'm just
absolutely. Well, so let's get into our first topic here.
Yeah.
And before we do, though, remember to like, comment, subscribe, give us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple because we end up growing. We explode when you guys do it. And we forgot to ask the past couple of weeks, so now it should be like renewed, and you guys will feel reinvigorated.
Energy.
Right? It'd be like, you ever know those like old World War II like fighter pilots who end up getting in the fighter jet for like the first time in 70 years, and they're like feel reinvigorated? That's how I feel when I forget to tell people to like, comment, and subscribe. That's how I think they feel because I forgot, and now I've told them again, and now they must feel just like that. So our next big story. Not really a story, but a statement. Friends of the pod, the Obamas are not getting divorced, and they announced it in a podcast that they're not getting divorced. They never were getting divorced, and we're happy for them, aren't we? We've never been more happy, and we hope that people don't bring up the episode where we said that they might be getting divorced, don't we?
I feel like every week you put your toe in the pop culture water to see how far we can go in that arena and where the pushback is going to be. And I'm not following the Obama drama. I don't know what it is. So
well, there is no Obama drama, I guess.
Okay.
It's just maybe there was. I listened to the podcast. It was funny. He was shouting from the other room. She took me back. Hilarious. But they were saying they were never getting divorced, and I guess Michelle was very aware. Obama was not of the rumors. And Obama's like, I live a pretty offline life. So I go out to these events and I talk to people and they say, "I heard you're getting divorced." He goes, "What? What are you talking about?"
To find out, yeah.
Yeah, that's new to me. And so I don't know, they were funny about it. I think it was called IMO or something like that. It's like Michelle Obama and Barack's podcast. So awesome. But Preston, Syria. What's happening in Syria here?
Nobody ever knows is the thing with Syria. It's back. Started about a week ago. So we're going to be looking in the southern portion of the country. Suwaida is this area, this governorate in the southern portion of Syria, which the southern portion is important because just to the west of that, you have the Golan Heights and Israel. And Israel is heavily involved here. It is messy and complicated to say the least, which kind of is the normal disclaimer with all things Syria. So it looks like what started a couple days ago was there were some highway robberies that turned into kidnappings, and it was really kicking off between the Druze and the Bedouins. The Bedouins are a group of Sunni tribesmen that live in and around a bunch of different places in Syria and elsewhere, but they're kind of all around this Druze-controlled area in southern Syria. The Druze are pretty unique. There's not like a good comparison there that I can think of, but they have like portions of Christianity, portions of Islam. I think it came out of like Shia Islam at one point. It's confusing. Nonetheless, it sparked a lot of violence. Negotiations didn't happen. Violence between the Bedouins and the Druze. Immediate accusations of ethnic cleansing and sectarian killings, which appear to have happened to some degree. The Syrian government decided to send in military forces to try to tamp this thing down under al-Shara, friend of the pod. And
shout out.
As they were moving down from Damascus, the Israeli Air Force was like, yeah, no, we will not allow any military formations moving into the southern portion of Syria. So Israel started bombing these things, destroying tanks and armored vehicles. The Syrian military forces that did get near Suwaida, some of them were ambushed, apparently by at least one of these Druze groups, and multiple killed, shown on camera, kind of being paraded, their bodies being shown as like celebrations. Others marched off into the distance, have not been seen or heard from since. The assumption is those soldiers were killed. We've had 3 ceasefires go into effect, 2 fall apart, and the third one I think technically has not fallen apart, but it's not in place anymore. It's fallen apart. We'll go with that. So Syria put 2 in place, and one of the Druze leaders immediately said, actually, we don't like this. We're going to keep fighting. So that's a problem. Same thing happened about 24 hours later. One Druze leader, which I need to pull his name up so we have this right, but again, said we're not going to do the ceasefire. Fighting resumed. At this point, Israel started striking targets all across Syria. We saw them hit the Syrian Ministry of Defense building. Like, what? Like, significant aerial attack. They hit Syrian military bases in other portions of the country. The Israeli stance right now has been kind of twofold. They are doing this to protect the Druze, and there is a tight relationship there, and some Druze are appealing to Israel for protection. Israel is also saying that they're carrying out these attacks because they cannot allow the militarization of southern Syria. They still clearly do not trust the al-Shara regime and are concerned that any buildup of military forces there could be used towards nefarious ends at some point in the future. Whether it's al-Shara or they just think the regime now is too unstable, which probably is not a crazy thought, and some future militant group could come in and fall in on military formations right along the Israeli border. Oh, okay. So the U.S. and Turkey appear to have put in place some sort of ceasefire that saw the withdrawal of Syrian military forces from Suwaida. This came amidst accusations that the Syrian government was actually targeting the Druze, and we saw some pictures and videos that appears to back that up. The Syrian government has made clear that they're going to be going after and prosecuting anybody and holding liable anybody who committed these crimes. They've said similar things in the past. Big picture, it doesn't seem like al-Shara has total control over the government at this point. And overnight, we saw a kind of a call to arms go out across the Bedouin clans, the tribes. And there's reports everywhere from 4,000 to 50,000 Bedouin tribesmen converging on Suwaida to begin their fight against the Druze. Both Druze and Bedouins are accusing the other of atrocities, murdering, executing civilians. There's been accusations at this point of rape, torture, and mutilation, beheadings even. I say accusations because for whatever reason, the disinformation around Syria is always mind-boggling. So we'll go with accusations at this point. Nonetheless, there is some pretty graphic footage coming out. And we'll see. It looked like overnight Israel was about to really step up attacks and start hitting maybe some of these Bedouin tribes, which technically are not part of the Syrian government, but it does look like some Syrian military forces just took off their uniform and joined with their tribes to go down and fight. Israel has indicated they may even pull brigades out of Gaza and move them to Golan. And there's talk, unofficial, on Israeli channels, of the need to push in boots on the ground, some sort of military intervention to actually protect the Druze in Suwaida. That would be, it would be an invasion of southern Syria. So was that simple? You got it?
Yeah. What is so? My understanding is before Israel started airstriking, Netanyahu's trial got back on track, and then all of a sudden he needed to be excused for his airstrikes. Is that true?
I don't know the exact timing of it, but I think that's pretty accurate. I know there was...
Jesus.
It just started something back up because Ambassador Huckabee was there, and that caused some frustration. People were like, wait a minute, what's the U.S. ambassador doing in the courtroom for the prime minister. So, yeah, I think that was happening. I don't know the exact timing, but I do believe it's now back on hold.
Jesus Christ. So, I mean, who's next then? I mean, so we'll get into the Druze here and Bedouins, but with Israel here, I mean, this is crazy. This is now so they didn't attack Gaza. Gaza attacked them. But this is, the second country this year, in 2025, that they have attacked first? Is that correct?
Would Iran be would you say that they attacked Iran first, though? I mean, I don't think that's a good way to frame it, because it goes back and back and back.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the Syria thing here real quick. It's messy because there are some, within the Druze community even, we are seeing some of the Druze leaders come out, wave Israeli flags, and say, we need help. We need to be protected. We call on our brothers and sisters in Israel to protect us. There is a Druze community in Israel that is very sympathetic to this. And we saw, I don't know if you remember, it was a little over a year ago, there was a Hezbollah drone strike in Majd al-Shams in northern Israel that killed, I think, 12 Druze children. And that prompted, within a couple days, the Israeli response to that was starting to take out senior leaders from Hezbollah's military leadership and kind of precipitated the downfall of Hezbollah. So there's close ties between the Druze and the Israelis, no doubt. So there is sympathy in Israel when the Druze say, we need your help, we need protection. And it's not just protection, it's protection from what they're framing as jihadi thugs, terrorists, Al-Qaeda and Islamic State sympathizers, which it's a pretty broad brushstroke to say all Sunni tribes are jihadis. It's not close, not by a long shot, but no doubt there are going to be some in there that have worked alongside or supported those jihadi groups in the past. On top of that, the Israeli concerns about any foreign threat materializing on their border is understandable. I get it from their perspective. But now you're talking about the preemptive style war of how long can Israel tell Syria you can't have any military forces in the southern portion of the country. So, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked there. The Druze, there's one group telling Israel, we want you. There are other Druze leaders right now saying, go away, Israel, do not intervene. This is a Syrian matter. We are autonomous. We are a Syrian state. We are a part of the Syrian state. Israel coming in is just causing instability. So even within the community of people that Israel is saying they're there to protect, there is some mixed reactions to how this is playing out.
I find the whole ordeal to be very annoying because I was very excited for Syria's future. You know, al-Shara, for all his past sins, has really, he's read all these neoliberal books on democracy. He seemed like someone who's going to turn the country around, and now he's getting bombed. The Syrian Defense Ministry was bombed. That's crazy. I just don't understand what the goal here is, and it almost feels like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it feels like Israel is breeding more terrorism, because the key to not having terrorism is to have strong countries, right, with a strong central government that are affluent and wealthy, and people, young men, they have opportunities, right? If you're just bombing everyone, what does anyone have, you know? I feel like that's the same problem we ran into with the war on terror, that kind of like what we're doing doesn't work.
Part of the challenge right now is, if you put yourself in Israel's shoes, do they respond to this and move military forces into the south, or increase airstrikes, whatever it might be, or directly back one of these groups? And that would lead to fracturing within the Syrian state. So that government probably becomes less stable at that point. You probably see more Bedouin tribes and maybe even the government turning on this portion of the country. Or do you let a massacre play out and say, we could stop it, we're being asked to stop it, but we're not going to stop it? And I don't know that there's a clear answer to that in either direction.
That's fair.
So
Do you think?
There's also, I want to say this. There are a lot of people that hate Jolani or al-Shara, and they want to see him fail. And they have him grouped in this, once a jihadi, always a jihadi. I think we've been clear on this show. I'm not convinced that he has not changed his ways. I think he certainly has a troubled past, to say the least. Mm-hmm. I've taken the stance since he took power that what else are we going to do? What is the better option? Because we've not been able to figure out a better option. But there no doubt have been people that around the world, in the United States, in Israel, and elsewhere, that view Jolani as a wolf in sheep's clothing, just waiting for the time to strike, and the strike is going to be brutal massacres and terrorist attacks. To a degree, I think there's some self-fulfilling prophecy involved there, where like if you're always looking for that, you're going to find it in every little thing. But yeah, it's not like Jolani has international support across the board.
No, without a doubt. He does have one big supporter, though, the U.S. State Department. And they seem, whatever they see there, they seem to be convinced. Do you think the State Department is convinced? Do you think they're just saying, all right, this is what we have? Because, I mean, they condemned Israel's attack on Syria. They urged a ceasefire. They keep meeting with Jolani and his people. Or al-Shara. I don't know. What do you think's happening there? Do you think the U.S. gets Israel to stop here, or?
Did you see Rubio was asked about the Israeli airstrikes in Damascus against their Ministry of Defense building, and he said it was a misunderstanding, miscommunication. It's like, bro, listen.
That's crazy.
Blue on blue, like accidentally, hitting what you think is an enemy tank, but it's a friendly tank. That's miscommunication. Accidentally dropping bombs on the equivalent of Syria's Pentagon. Miscommunication is kind of brushing that aside rather lightly. My guess is that the State Department, this is just the best we have right now. What's the alternative?
Yeah, I agree. Good Lord. I hope peace comes to the Middle East soon. I know I'm not the first person to say that, but it just feels like this is crazy.
I do want to say I saw people, because a lot of this kicked off right around the Epstein stuff, and people were saying, oh, it's the distraction. It's not. And the American people don't care about Syria. I'm sorry. And if we're just learning that now, then you haven't been paying attention. We just don't. Good luck finding me one of the top. I've been searching for clips for my videos to be cool, what are the politicians saying? What is the DOD saying? And the answer is nothing. Nobody is talking about Syria. So when you get into the Middle East, of course they are. But in terms of anything ever happening in Syria that's going to take over the U.S. dialogue, it's just not. It's not this. I don't know what that. When Assad fell, it barely cracked the top news story. So, yeah, Syria does not serve as a distraction.
Did you see? Someone posted this meme of when Netanyahu was at the UN, and he had the chart of the bomb, how close Iran is to the bomb, and they said this is Netanyahu at the White House next week, and it's. The bar thing, it says Iran is this close to releasing the Epstein files, and I thought that is hysterical. I was like, there you go, that'll get him to strike again. Yeah. So, should we? Do you still want to talk Syria? You want to go
Let's
to
move
our
on.
buddies?
That's about where things sit right now.
Yeah.
It's again, anybody trying to keep up with it, just be very, very careful with the information. There's a lot of intentionally and a lot of, I think, unintentionally bad information floating around. I don't know where it originates, but we've already seen some pretty significant claims of major atrocities that within a few hours were proven false. But of course, that few hours is I mean, just yesterday there was news that al-Shara had fled Damascus, and there were multiple high-level assassinations of Syrian military leadership. Wake up this morning, none of that's true. So just be careful.
Yeah. I should say over in the Ukraine. I'm not. I know sometimes I'm hard on Israel in here, but I want the best for Israel. I want them to move on from the stage of warring. I want the best for Syria. And it just seems like sometimes we're further away from that than we will ever be.
Yeah.
But speaking of war,
are we back?
We're so back, Preston. We're so back. We came here on Friday, and I told everyone I don't jinx things because I have a pure heart, a pure soul. And jinxing is for the corrupted and the lost, the abandoned, the meek. Not I, not you. We called it. We said President Trump's going to come through. He's going to protect Ukraine as the Lion of Kharkiv, and that was so true. He's sending... I saw initial news reports for 17 Patriot systems, which seems like a lot. But, like, especially something like the Patriot, it's hard to tell when politicians are... Not that they're lying, but it's hard to tell what they mean when they say things, because there's so... For those who don't know, when you talk about the Patriot missiles, you could be talking about the battery, the launcher, the missiles, like radar pieces. When you say the system, that might not mean the whole thing. I mean, it's not really clear to me what 17... What do you know what that was, the 17?
Same thing. I don't know if it's intentionally misleading or system sounds better than... So moving up, you have, again, like Ben was saying, you have the launcher, you have the control station, the radar, power generation, and additional equipment. That together makes a system. Mm-hmm. A number of those, including 6 to 8 launchers, makes up a battery, and then 2 or more batteries make up a battalion. System is not a unit of measure in the U.S. military, so we don't know. Not. It could be 17 launchers and radars, for all we know. But I don't know if that's because... Now, I will say this administration has made a decision to not be as transparent on the equipment that we're sending, which isn't a bad thing. In fact, there's a pretty good argument for we should have been doing this from the get-go. The Biden administration was putting out long fact sheets, trying to signal our support. Here's exactly what we're giving Ukraine, for the most part. Some of it kind of went under the radar and was announced late intentionally. Trump has not been doing that. I think part of that is for domestic political reasons, because if we're not putting out press statements, it might not seem like we're actually sending anything over at all. But this does kind of follow suit with that, where it's not super clear what exactly is happening.
Without a doubt. And then, outside of the Patriots, he's sending more. He's going to reportedly send cruise missiles, long-range cruise missiles, that can be launched from an F-16, and he reportedly asked Zelensky, can you strike Moscow and St. Petersburg with this? And Zelensky said, if you give us the weapons, yes. And that is what is motivating Trump to give them the weapons. He wants Ukraine to strike Putin, not Putin, but Moscow and St. Petersburg so that they feel the pain. Which, where was this guy? Where is this a copy? I don't...
I do want to stress the both of those last two things have been denied by the White House.
Wow.
So just for context, they have said that statement was not made about striking Moscow and St. Petersburg. It came from officials that were familiar with the call, that whole stuff. And Trump kind of walked back the offensive missiles or long-range missiles.
Boo.
So we'll see. Is it because that didn't happen, or is it because we're trying to keep some of this stuff under wraps? Take your pick. I feel like it's worth. I need to add that for context.
Yeah, I'm glad. I didn't know they ended up walking it back and denying. I take it back. That's why I don't have a photo of him here yet. But I am very happy to hear about this. He's touting that NATO and Europe are going to pay for everything. I think he said at one point Ukraine's going to pay for it too. We'll see. I mean, I guess that's like, I don't know. I think Europe's money could be better used building out their own militaries. But I wonder if this is one of those things where they're like, here's our credit line, and then they wait to see who's president in 2029, and it just gets forgiven or forgotten, you know? I don't know. What do you think of that?
Yeah, the number thrown out was $10 billion, and my gut says that that's a make-believe number, that it doesn't actually matter. They just picked a big one because a lot of it is essentially us saying that we are open and willing to sell a lot of equipment to Europe, and they can then do what they want with that equipment. Now, in some of these cases, countries need to backfill, just like we do. Some of these European countries need to backfill their stockpiles. So $1 billion purchase to Germany or $1 billion order to Germany does not necessarily translate to $1 billion in arms going into Ukraine. It could, but there's also the needs of these individual countries, maybe upgrading or adding to their existing armaments. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other is like, are we really putting a cap on that? Or, we've already had a couple countries come out and say they're not going to be able to really buy much more. So the $10 billion number seems like they just wanted a number to put on it. I would not be surprised if 5-10 years down the road we look back and that number is just not here at all. It could be higher. It could be drastically lower. They did stress that we would be prioritizing some of these European orders, and it seems like we've seen some of that already. It looked like a Patriot system may have been diverted from, I think, Switzerland to Germany in recent days. So we're seeing more of a prioritization towards the Ukrainian theater than maybe existed a couple weeks ago, but we'll see. I mean, this comes on top of, well, first off, you and I were ranting about this last week. We said just make more and sell more. Boom. Helps the American economy, right? So love it. This is a very Trumpian move. Awesome. We get to take in more money. We get to build more factories. We get to employ more people, and we can sell more munitions that can be sent to Ukraine if Germany, the UK, France, whoever wants to do that. The other part of this are these sanctions and tariffs that may or may not be going into effect in like 46 days now. I don't know. What's your thought on that? To me, that feels, I just have no confidence that we're actually going to carry through and that they're necessarily going to do anything.
So the tariff threat, I mean, he really does live and die by the tariff. We don't really trade with Russia anymore, so not really sure why we're threatening tariffs. But there's a thought of secondary tariffs, right? And that he's going to tariff China and India. That seems kind of self-defeating, given that those are, two of our... We want India to become our biggest exporter, and we have China, who is our biggest exporter. And so we'll see. I would prefer if he just put sanctions on either country or Russia itself. The tariff thing is just so... The U.S. tariff policy right now is dumb. It's both to bring back manufacturing, punish nations, restore American prosperity, but also they don't raise prices, so they're not going to increase domestic manufacturing. You know what I'm saying here? The whole thing doesn't make sense. Yeah. And so I have no confidence in these tariffs. I think they're dumb. I think like the Senate thought they were being cute with their tariff bill, 500% tariffs. When Trump was asked about it, he goes, well, you only really need 5%. You don't need 500%. And I was like, okay, whatever, dude. So I don't know. I think the deadline's stupid. What is he going to apply to? We don't even trade with Russia. I mean, and
it's not the tariffs on Russia. It's those secondary ones is the only thing that really matters. But
are we going to break?
It's something new. It's something they're trying it, right? I like that aspect of it, but
are they going to break
if you're Putin, is this the thing? This is the thing. This is the time where you're like, son of a bitch, they got me boxed in. All right,
no,
I'm out. I feel like the 46 days are gonna come and go, and we're gonna be debating whether or not Trump is actually gonna do anything about this and what that action looks like. And maybe he takes action then. I don't know. It's a long time.
My thing is
50 days. God.
Are we gonna break like the temporary agreements we have in place with China and India to put more tariffs on them over Russia? I don't know. Like, China is due for sanctions. They are aiding Russia.
Yes.
And, like, they do it through their dual-use munitions or whatever. Whatever. I'm not sure I necessarily believe that. And so, they are due for... I just prefer to see us do the sanctions. I don't know. The 50-day deadline to resolve the war? What are we doing? How many deadlines does this guy get?
That's the thing, is if you're Putin, you just sit on this and you wait to see what happens at the 46-day mark or however many days it is now, because at this point, he hasn't really changed anything. Mm-hmm. Technically, we're still supplying Ukraine with weapons. I feel like Putin's move is going to be to just keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Hope that there's another Epstein case that drops.
We should tell him the Epstein files are in Moscow. That'll solve it, right? We'll see.
Did you see the polling around this decision? Do you think I can share my screen?
Yeah, if you don't have anything bad on there, yeah.
I don't have anything bad on there. Why'd you say that?
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you be able to share it? What's
first time for the pod here? So this poll here, Echelon Insights, and it's worth showing to kind of walk through, but it shows how support for Ukraine, sending weapons to Ukraine, drastically changed the minute they said, do you support Trump doing it? So the first question, do you support or oppose continuing to give weapons to Ukraine for the conflict with Russia? They then asked, do you support or oppose Donald Trump's decision to continue giving weapons to Ukraine for the conflict with Russia? So the only difference here was Trump said he's doing it. And the big shift here is the GOP went from 48% support to 67% support when they heard that Trump decided to do it. They're pro-Ukraine, man. That is the highest support of any group. That's more support than the Democrats, more support than the independents.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'm glad they support Ukraine now, but that's crazy. I am all on board with supporting Ukraine, but that is like a little like, sir, yes, sir. You know,
right?
Or whatever you say, dear leader, we're behind you. It's crazy.
That's a wild jump, man. All of a sudden, the GOP becomes the most supportive of sending weapons to Ukraine when Trump says that's what we're going to do.
Wonderful. Perfect.
I mean, this is, I'll ask you, the domestic politics guy, but it seems like there's not very much right now happening that gets 62% approval. That's pretty popular.
Yeah, that's right now. Yeah, 60% approval is pretty popular. Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, I mean, good. I'm glad we're all on the same page now. But what's great is their opposition to aid initially was because he was opposing aid, saying it was going to lead to World War III, and now, whatever. I mean, I'm just glad we're doing the right thing. But between Epstein and now look, whatever. We'll have to learn to live with each other. But I'm very happy we're all on the same page of Ukraine now, and hopefully we can give Ukraine the assets they need to do something big here. And I believe Putin, does he have a offensive coming up or something?
So CNN was reporting on this, and I saw a couple Ukrainian outlets pick it up, say that there's like 150, 160,000 Russian troops massing for some large-scale offensive. To be fair, or to be clear, they started their offensive back in April. They've been on the attack in a couple areas, notably around Pokrovsk in the southeast, a little bit up near Sumy in the northeast. That one's largely been stopped and pushed back a little bit, but this feels a lot like the opening months of the war, where everybody's just waiting for the real Russian army to show up. Like, where are they? And where? Again, the drone coverage of this conflict has gotten out of control, right? Like, there's now, depending on the portion of the front, 20 to 40 kilometers between the front lines, because that dead zone is just covered by both, but Ukrainian drone units are really monitoring that. And then you've got the medium to long-range strike drones hitting targets further and further in Russia's rear. Where are the 100,000-plus troops staying? Like, where are they? And they don't appear to be showing up anywhere at this point. So I don't know exactly what prompted that story. I would not be surprised if we see an uptick in Russian drone and missile strikes. They'll probably continue pushing around Pokrovsk because they think they're probably going to be able to seal that off sometime in the next few weeks, maybe months. But in terms of some brand new large-scale Russian offensive, it's hard to buy into that right now.
I fully agree. Fully agree.
Well, what do you think? Should we jump over to some questions?
Let's do it. So, question number 1. Who is your favorite Ukrainian social media person?
Oh, you go first. I need to think about this.
Who was that guy we were in the back of an Uber with, come back from the French embassy?
Max.
A year ago. Max, the career ladder guy. I really like him. I think he's really cool. I also like Kate from Kharkiv.
Yep.
But those are my two. Max from the career ladder and Kate from Kharkiv.
God, I don't know. I mean, it depends what you're looking for. Tatarigami UA does a really good job of kind of detailed analysis. He's a former Ukrainian reserve military officer. Does some really good, like, in-depth deep dives into what's happening there. Follow a lot of volunteers, individual soldiers. It's hard to narrow down. I really like the Zynga's Paw team right now. They've just always been doing really good work, and I think their fundraiser is really kind of taken off as of late, and I think they've done a really good job. It's a group in Ukraine. The founder of it is now a drone pilot in the Ukrainian Armed Forces, so his wife has kind of taken over and run the show. And they do. I know one of the big issues with any fundraisers is where's the money going, and I haven't seen anyone quite as good as Zynga's Paw in terms of showing exactly where every dollar goes and just having it readily available at all times. So they've done a really good job. They've been a lot of fun to follow along with. And then, I don't know that he's Ukrainian, but War Translated, he's Estonian, really tied into the war, though. War Translated, I think, does a really, really good job of translating Russian media so you can actually understand what's happening day in and day out. But I don't know, man. There's a bunch of them.
They're all wonderful. We love them all. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by all this crazy shit? If so, any advice on not freaking out?
Yes. Yes and no. The overwhelming, in a sense, comes from workload, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. There's been a handful of times where I've been genuinely like kind of a sick to my stomach feeling as things are playing out. One of those was around the U.S. strikes with Iran, waiting to see what Iran was going to do in retaliation. Another was, God, fortunately now they're kind of fading. But there's probably been 5 or 6 times in the last few years where I've thought like, oh my God, this could go really poorly really quickly. And that sucks. I think trying to keep up to date with things, there's like a middle ground. Either you have no idea what's going on and you're just blissfully ignorant. Mm-hmm. And then there's all the way to the other side where you're trying to focus on keeping up with, the Syrian advance on Damascus. And it doesn't feel as crazy because you have an understanding of what's happening there. It's that middle area where you don't have very much information and you're hearing the wild speculation that I think could probably be the most difficult. But yeah, it's been overwhelming more than once. I don't know that I have a good solution for that. I kind of just buckle down and keep going, and that's probably not the healthiest way to handle it. For me, I'm like a plate spinner, like plates on sticks, and I love the chaos of it all, and nothing's exciting to me unless the plates are about to fall. Like like the performers who spin plates or like sticks, and they have to like keep one from falling so they go to the next so they don't. Mm-hmm. Know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's me. And working in news, I thrive on the chaos of it all. And I'm not satisfied unless there's like a little chaos, a little danger. That's like, so I thrive on the chaos. It's when things get calm and boring that is the worst for me. I hate the feeling of treading water, so with the crazy, I don't get overwhelmed by the crazy shit. I thrive on it. But I don't know. There's a difference there too, because you spend a lot more time on news, and I spend a lot more time on conflict. True. So it's a weird feeling when there's nothing to report on. Like that's a good thing in a sense. Like that's for humanity. That is a good thing. When fighting ticks up, it gives me a lot of things to talk about, and I'm interested. And there's no doubt that, like, when the IDF moves into southern Lebanon, it's interesting to follow that conflict. But all of that comes with death, destruction, and tragedy. So it's a mixed bag, man.
Right. I mean, yeah, when you put it that way, it does seem quite sad. But you're right. Yeah, I have the news more generally. And I'll always say,
you can have, there's all sorts of like the CEO yesterday, guy with his side piece on the screen
at the
Coldplay,
Coldplay
right? That
concert?
blew up.
I mean,
went everywhere, right? That's
Yeah.
that's fine. I mean, his kids probably aren't going to like it. His family's going to be a little embarrassed for a little while, but big picture, who gives a shit? That's very different than like there's a Russian advance in Sumy and families. You know what I mean?
How crazy is it to bring your side piece to a Coldplay concert?
Which, I mean, there's a lot of things there.
How do you even pull that off? You just, I'm going to the Coldplay concert alone. What? How does it even work?
There's a lot there. I liked it. I thought it was hilarious. Maybe I'm a bad person, but seeing
If
the guy
they
try
had
to
played
duck
it
out
cool-
of frame was just awesome.
If they had played it cool, no one would have known. Right? No one would have thought anything of it. But the fact that they acted like...
Didn't they get like 100
that.
million views in 10 hours or something? Something like one of the most viral clips on the internet for a long time.
Yeah, he released a statement apologizing, and then he said, "This private moment of mine never should have been made public," or something.
You shouldn't have called
And
it
I was
public.
like, oh, I don't...
The lesson I'm learning here, Ben, between the Epstein stuff and CEOs at Coldplay concerts is like, just don't do the thing you know you're not supposed to do.
Right.
Like, look,
Well-
we all get tripped up. We'll all get canceled for something we said that we thought was okay or whatever. But like, you know, the Epstein stuff, everybody knew it was bad, has known it's been bad for a long. Just don't do that. Just don't be involved there, and don't take your side piece to a Coldplay concert. Like, there you go. Don't cheat on your significant other. Probably will save you some of that headache. I don't know. Hate to take a moral high ground on that one, but I just don't
very
do the
brave
bad
of you.
shit.
It's a very brave take of yours.
I know.
I agree. But hey, billionaires are going to billionaire. Do you find it strange the U.S. government repeatedly suggests it will send its citizens to die for Taiwan, while also not willing to even recognize them as a country?
I don't think that gets any consideration outside of like foreign policy circles, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just not realistic. It's not. It is realistic. It's just not top of mind for people. And I think that's, yeah. I agree. I 100% agree. I don't think we've made that connection yet.
I would say if you ask most Americans, they would say Taiwan is a country. Kind of unaware of the weird status it has, right?
Well, I'll take it a step further and say a lot of the pushback against any military action is, oh, I'm not going to die for XYZ. I'm not going to die for Ukraine. I'm not going to die for NATO. I'm not going to die for Israel. Of course, seems to be the top. No matter where the conflict is, it's always Israel.
Yes.
But nobody ever says, like, well, I'm not going to die for Taiwan. I just don't think it's registered as a real possibility, maybe is a way to put it.
I'd also say, does the U.S. government repeatedly suggest that it's going to send its citizens to die for Taiwan? Isn't the whole U.S. policy strategic ambiguity? This seems like a loaded question. Seems like a loaded... I gotta tell you, kind of like a loaded question here. Whatever. Next question. Why are another loaded question. Why are Americans so surprised that their allies don't like being pissed on and told it's raining? It's almost like extorting your allies is a poor way to maintain relations. I would ask, since you listen to the show, who's surprised? We come on here every week and we complain about it. And we're the heartbeat of America. We're the pulse of America.
Flyover states right here, yeah.
Yeah, our views represent the entire nation. What else do you want? We say it's bad. The Democrats say it's bad. The Senate Republicans say it's bad. Of the few House Republicans that have a brain, they say it's bad. What else do you need here? This is a Trump and his 20% are the only people who think it's cool.
I was going to say the counterpoint there is some loud voices online. I think, loud voices. We can do it all alone. We're the best. Nothing can compete with us. I think there is a voice out there. I disagree with it on just about every level. But you make enough noise, that's probably where that comes from.
And I should also say that even of like the Trump 20%, they're not surprised that you're mad. They believe you're mad because they believe you're mad because they think you've been getting paid by the U.S. government, and they're glad you're mad that your payment's been cut off. no one's surprised that you're mad. Everyone knows you're mad. It's just a matter of whether they like that you're mad or not. Right? Would you agree with that?
Of payments getting cut off, yeah, we never heard back from USAID on podcast sponsorships. Is that?
Yeah, they helped start us.
Banking on that.
Yeah, it's really sad. Devastating. There goes all our funding.
Hey, to wrap up on a good note, DeChambeau is 6 under today, making a bit of a charge at the Open. Yeah,
wonderful. I hope it'd be pretty cool if he won. But did you see that Grant Horvist, the YouTube golf guy?
No.
He was qualified to play in the British Open.
Jesus.
He was all in to play, backs out because they won't let him use his film crew to film.
Oh, interesting.
That's crazy to me. And people say, "Oh, understandable decision on both ends," and I was like, I don't know, man. It's the British Open, right? Like,
not understandable decision on either end.
Right?
The exact opposite stance.
I think he did the same for the Masters too, and I was like, dude, that's crazy. That could never be me.
I don't know, man.
I'd be out there, without a camera. I'd be out there shooting 160. Where does the British Open? Where do they play at? They play St Andrews. Is that where the British Open's at?
No, this is Royal Portrush.
Oh.
Which I probably didn't say right.
I'd be out there getting eliminated in the first cut, but I'd have a good time. We should do an Unclassified podcast from the golf course.
Yeah.
4 hours long.
If we're lucky.
if we're lucky. 4 hour long podcast.
It's in Ireland.
That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
All
right.
But,
yeah,
folks, this was an episode that's kind of all over the place. It was kind of like a nothing week. Would you agree with that? It kind of felt like you had Syria and then
Druze and the Bedouins wouldn't say that.
Well, fair enough. But thank you for listening to this episode, the Unclassified Podcast. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, give us 5 stars everywhere, and I don't know. Let us know what you want to talk about next week. I think things will happen next week. Next week feels like a happening week, doesn't it?
I think so. There we go.
Because this week was so-so. But anyways. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.